We're getting there.
We're good.
All right, we're good. So just to lay out the rest of the day, we're hitting kind of the home stretch for today, the point of no return. We're going to finish this last black section, get this fleshed out as much as possible. Then Dan and I, between today and tomorrow, when we come back here at 12:30, we'll just check, some spelling, things like that, tighten this up a little bit, refine it a little bit. Then tomorrow, when we come back together, we'll assign owners for the 90-day goals. So who's going to own it? Remember, if you own it, doesn't mean you have to do it all.
Responsible.
Okay, but you're responsible for making sure it gets done. Okay? And then we're gonna go through some of the resources and things that will help you with the due process and talk more in depth with that tomorrow. So tomorrow's gonna be, because we've done so much today, we're gonna get a little bit lighter tomorrow. We may get done a little bit earlier even tomorrow, so there you go. But as soon as I say it, it's almost like the kiss of death, but you don't. But again, today, a good breaking point is gonna be when we finish this. And then we're just going to go around the room and say, talk about a little bit about expectations again, were some things met. Key takeaway from today, things like that you can begin to think about. Then we'll break and come back again tomorrow. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm sure no one's going to want to get out even a little earlier today. So, then 4:30, right?
Great.
Okay, all right. So, we've got, again, the top three sections. And again, to Alan's point, I like it. This is very streamlined. And it's very board appropriate. It's very board appropriate because these are higher level board pieces that you've got to be on top of to make sure that your school is the best that it can possibly be. All right. So now if we go down here, so rather than the SHRM, so what we normally build into plans is a strategic HRM plan. Now again, this would be specifically for the board. So the board has its own strategic human resource management plan. It's not so much what you're paying each other, all those payroll, the nitty gritty, but it's who do we want on the board? How many members do we want on the board? What's the succession planning for the board? What's the training we want for the board? Those types of things are a part of that. Now, you don't have to have this. We would recommend it, that healthy boards do something with this. Like even succession planning. So again, what are your terms or what are your term limits? Do you have term limits? Tell me just a quick high-level view of that.
The board serves 3-year terms.
Yeah, we have 3-year term limits. I think part of the problem is they're not staggered nicely. So
Wait, we have 3-year term limits.
3-year terms is what we got.
We don't have term limits, though.
Not term limits, 3-year terms, I'm sorry. That
Oh.
have to be renewed after 3 years.
Right,
It's not a limit.
but there isn't a limit.
Sorry, there's
So
no
it's
limit.
limitless?
Correct.
Okay, but 3 years, but not
3-year
staggered.
terms, so.
Okay. All right, so you don't automatically have to plan in succession until someone says, I'm serving my last term. So they can't term out.
Correct.
Okay, that's not a bad thing, all right? That's-
But they can leave or move or relocate. I mean, there's always those.
Somebody can always change. So
Yeah.
something that we would encourage boards that are well prepared is just like the school will have a waiting list, you want to start developing, vetting your waiting list and really determining what's your optimal number. And so this is part of, I'll go a little forward to go backwards, but we teach a module called Good Board Governance, GBG, Good Board Governance. And good board governance gets in, we talked a little bit about this in our 101, but good board governance gets into basically 4 key areas that a board is responsible. A board at your level, your stage, as you're no longer necessarily a pure working board, but you're going to more of governing type of policy board, you're making sure that those things are all adhered to, is the idea that a good board is really responsible for 4 key areas. One is selecting and supporting your organizational leader. So really, the board is here to support Margaret. That's one of your biggest goals, support Margaret. And if Margaret were ever to leave, then the board's role is to select the next one and support the next leader. So that's one area. Second area is your growth as a board. So a good board, again, is self-growth. How are we growing? How are we developing? Now in Minnesota, it's good and bad at the same time. Our board members are required to do roughly 10 hours a year in board training. And it can be independent stuff, or it can be through the state, or it can be XYZ, but all the board members are required to take 10 hours a year of specific board, and 2 of those hours every year is finance training. So sitting down with, what's your group called again? Sorry,
Seaside.
Clifton Larson Allen.
Clifton Larson Allen, sitting down, they would come in and do like a 90-minute presentation to the board, here's what we do, here's how you understand these finances better, so different things like that. I'm not saying that that's what you have to do, but I'm just saying that that's another area of the four that we touch base on, is that boards themselves grow. They get the training, they develop. The third area of good board governance, again, is crisis management. So good board governance. So the board is really responsible for crisis management. It's not necessarily determining all the policies, but making sure that your school is on top of what do you do if you have, an armed intruder. Do you have policies, right? It's not determining the policies, but it's making sure that all the critical crisis management pieces are in place, including, it was up there in the challenges and opportunities, but we deleted it, I do believe, is our crisis response.
Reputational risk.
Yeah, reputational risk. I'm not saying that it has to be one of them, but in crisis management, if Margaret calls up and says, hey, we had a teacher, heaven forbid, we had a teacher who did X, Y, and Z to a student, did you know your steps of how are you going to publicly put this out there? So that's what a good board, again, would make sure that there are policies. They don't have to determine the policies, but to be able to go to Margaret and say, what's your crisis management plan if X, Y, Z happens with a teacher? Margaret said, well, this is what we do. We call it, channel 4, we do this, we get ahead of the curve. Does that make sense? So that's the third area. And then the fourth area is succession for the board. Who do we have in the pipeline? Who are we recruiting? And not only succession, but also tapping into to make sure that we have the right skill set on the board. Do we have someone that understands charter school law? So in Minnesota, we're required to have a charter law expert on our board. Somebody who knows charter law. We're also required to have someone who's in charge of finance. We have 4 preset areas by the state for expertise. So again, it would be the board determining what are those areas of expertise. You can expand them, you can have others. It's up to you. Then also in Minnesota, we're required to on our boards, and it's something for the board. Not saying you have to, but I'm just painting this picture. When you go through good board governance, these are things you'd be talking about. In Minnesota, we have to have at least 2 parents from the school on the board, plus the charter school law expert, plus XYZ. And we also have to have 2 community members on the board.
How big is your board?
Yeah, it's roughly 8. 8 is the minimum. Can be bigger,
Minimum.
but 8. So those two. And then, again, the other 4, the legal expert, finance expert, and the other 2 are kind of ad hoc. So, I'm not saying that that's a model you have to follow, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, in this section, those would be things you'd want to put if you're interested in moving forward with that.
What would be a good makeup?
Georgia, that's auction, you spoke.
That would be a good makeup. I mean, I get, we should think about, if you waved a magic wand, what would be the skill set to augment what's here, or what would be an ideal makeup of the board? Perhaps not your model, but
Yeah, no, and
something akin to
and trust me,
that.
I am not saying the Minnesota, trust me, not saying the Minnesota model is perfect or this or that. It's part of the requirements, and we are forced to have those discussions, but they're good discussions to have regardless. So if you leave this here, basically what you're saying is we're committing to looking at what are those areas, succession planning, whatever we determine. So do you want to leave something here for that?
I think so.
Okay, and we can go deep with that. All right. The other piece here, you don't have to, but I would encourage you to go. It's a module we teach. So if it seems self-serving for me and everything that way, yeah, it's partly it is. So it is self-serving that way, but it's a module that we teach. You get someone else to teach it to you. I don't really care. But this is one module you could do. I'll leave it there for you all to talk about. You don't have to sign on to do it today or anything, but I'll just leave it there for you to think about. Fair enough? Okay. Then we're going to work you through, and as part of our contract with you, is we're going to work you through the fuel meeting agenda. So in the next 90 days, we're going to walk with you and help you lead, help you as much as we can with the law, so to say. Help you run meetings according to the field meeting agenda, which we'll get deeper into tomorrow. Those are the 90-minute meetings. 2/3 is on issues, very pointed, very directed. People that run these meetings never want to do anything else. Okay? So you're good with that just being, that's just a standard placeholder. Other tools as you determine. So again, we'll talk about other tools tomorrow, the alignment, engagement, fit. We'll talk about the DBS, driving business solutions, which is part of the, again, just a way to tackle issues. We'll talk about the 5 essentials of a team a little bit tomorrow, that, trust, positive conflict, those types of things, just other resources that you can explore, think about for the future. Then the other things that are necessary and are written into the contract with you is we will be here to walk with you every 90 days. So somebody's got to own it to schedule the 90-day meeting. And we've got an agenda for that one. Again, it should be scheduled for 4 hours. So the 90-day meeting should be the first one for 4 hours. I will guarantee you by the time you get to your third one, 2 hours to 90 minutes will cover it. Okay, but just that first one is just get you into the rhythm, and then we can schedule accordingly. Does that all make sense right now? All right? And then these are just future things to think about. If you're going to go into strengths any deeper. And this one, I don't know that was, I don't know why that's in there. Did someone suggest that, or is that just something I pasted in there by?
Delete.
Do you have a board book?
When you say board book, what do you mean by that?
Your board policy manual?
Sort of.
We do.
You do? Okay. Do you need to do anything with that? Review it? Is it just standard? Is it given to you by the state?
It's not
It's
state
not,
based.
but, just internally, kind of pulling everything together in one place for the board members.
You need to do anything with that? I don't know if that was added by somebody suggested that, or,
I don't know if anybody suggested it, but, probably wouldn't hurt to review it.
Yeah, that's true.
We all know what's in it.
so Dan, if we want to change that to change that 1 year to review and revise board policy manual. Review and revise board policy manual. And then the 90-day goal might be just, begin the process of review and revising board policy manual. Have you read through it, Georgia?
Of course.
Good. I love your, Ellen's like, don't ask me.
No, I just.
You're the newest member, right, Georgia?
We
We're all new together. We were all new at the same day.
All three of you,
same meeting.
okay.
Like triplets.
Now you can pick any one of you, all right, so any one of you, very good. All right. Does that make sense in the black? Are there any other general operations for the board piece? And really, general operations is kind of a catch-all. For you to function well as a board, are there other general operations that you want there?
The thing we were working on was that, defining those governance using the Carver model, our governance policies, so that would be a 90-day.
Okay, so 90-day goal would be, yeah. And again, part of our good board governance training is we do have a 20, we have Carver model built into that.
Oh,
Let's talk a little bit more about that. And the Carver model is not the be-all, end-all, but it's a good piece.
Hillsdale loves it.
I believe it. It's a good piece. I'm not against it.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
No? So is it begin the Carver model process? What did you say we're going to go on?
We have to draft and approve the policies.
Okay.
Which are in progress. Be completed. That covers it right there.
So let's anything else, General Ops, for the board that you're thinking of? All right, I don't want to prolong today, but let's go back then, if we could, for just a minute to the challenges and opportunities. And let's just make sure that we don't have a glaring gap here. So which one are we on the challenges? Okay, thank you. So do we have something built into the plan right now without, just from memory? We can go back to the plan. But talking about securing the one campus.
Yes.
We do, right? Okay, so we've got that addressed. We have something addressing vision?
Yes.
But, correct me if I'm wrong here, we have in there, their limited understanding of what classical education should be. So do we have anything specific to growing that knowledge in our community?
I don't think we're there yet.
Great point. No, we're gonna go back and take a look at that, so that's a good discussion, that's a good catch. So classical, because we don't have anything specific with that right now, so good catch, Scott. So we should discuss that to see if there is something we want to put in the plan. So good catch.
Wait, sorry, what?
We have two, this is the highest rated one, there's a limited understanding of what classical education could be for many families. So I think there's two pieces, one is the vision, but is there something specific to
Communicating that out.
communicating what that means, what the practical application is for students who are here, explaining to parents, why do we read, Catcher in the Rye, and The Giver, and whatever, I don't know if we read Catcher in the Rye, but you get the idea.
I do get the idea.
It was brought up a number of times, just explaining or really clearly defining the classical educational model to communicate with constituents.
Yep, okay.
So we'll go back and add accordingly if desired. All right, so anything else missing? Donor base is going to be addressed with advancement,
Yep.
financial base, and then, there's the parental communication satisfaction. That's maybe going to come, what I heard before we were talking, that's going to be taken care of through the vision and potentially this definition of the class, getting this out there. Does that make sense? Okay. Good there, team? Go ahead.
Sorry to be the bearer of extending this longer than, but I think it's important. Parental communication satisfaction, is that, I guess I'm not,
Now, here, that, I appreciate you bringing that up, because I had a little bit of discussion with Margaret, and if I understand right, there was a survey that went out that you had a professional group do. So should we be putting in, I think I had thought that with that, to begin to answer that, is there a 90-day goal that you want to put in there of communicating survey results and potential next steps?
That's happening on Wednesday.
but one of our, go ahead, Randy.
No, I was going to say, there's sort of kind of survey areas for improvement, and then there's next steps that were identified already, it looked like,
Yep.
to address those. So I don't know if you need to put anything else here. I think you've already taken those.
Yeah, I think we're gonna check that box on Wednesday.
Okay, so it's not something out here. Go ahead. Okay, so nothing with that, but go ahead.
Larger context, one of our charter initiatives, I believe, is that we do surveys twice 2x a year. Is that right? It's part of our charter.
Yes, we do the informal.
Yeah, so we have a process to do it. Should we call that out in our strategic plan document? That, we do it, we gotta do it twice a year. Communicate the results as part of that.
Do we, if we're already doing it, does it need to be sent operational?
Well, I don't know that it's operational.
Operations.
I think it's governance. And that, we already have to do it.
It's part of our processes that we're reviewing it.
Yeah,
The results would come in the processes part of it, review it.
The board process and policy manual you're talking about?
Yeah.
So I think, let's add that in there as an IE, the 2 surveys a year, action items, et cetera. As a
I mean, we're doing that, it's not something we need to add, but
Yeah.
is it something that should be called out at least, is my question.
Well, I think we can, so Dan, if we want to put here, begin the process of review and revise board policy manual, including, I put it probably under the 90-day, including the 2 surveys a year, et cetera, something like that, just so it's a reminder that you've got that built in, because that's board level responsibility.
Yep.
I
Well-
don't know,
well, the-
I currently facilitate it.
Reviewing it.
Okay.
Results as well.
To make sure it happens, the board would get, this whole school would get in trouble, right? If you didn't do it.
Correct.
What if they just say like the authorizer compliance pieces?
Sure, yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, the board should be making sure, not the, so I want to be very clear here, because I don't want to blur lines. The board should be making sure that anything with authorizer compliance is completed. That's the board's role, not to do it, not to dictate what it has to be or anything necessarily, but that we're checking those boxes. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm suggesting should be on here, I think.
Okay. So Dan, I think maybe we just put, is it a yearly piece with the board?
I mean, that we're meeting all the requirements is yearly, yes. The sequence of it's varying. The reason why one thing should be on here, if this is part of what goes into that fuel agenda, I think it should be on that, I would think. That just conceptually envision how that would work. Are we on track to complete our survey? Yes, why not? You know, those
So
are
to
the-
have that, it is on our board calendar,
Yeah,
so we have like, so we don't forget, so
Correct.
we're doing it at the same time each year.
correct. It just, if we're going to a new format potentially, I don't know if we are or not, but if we are, it would make sense that it would be on this, to me.
So Dan, I think we just put, 90 days, just review authorizer compliance every 90 days.
There is an annual authorizer compliance review that takes place because many of the components of our agreements aren't accessible until close of fiscal year and year end. So that, again, is also in Wednesday's board report is the annual.
So then the one year would just ensure completion of annual authorizer report.
I think so, rather than 90-day
Okay.
check-ins. They're just not reportable in 90-day increments necessarily.
Well, we want to know that on a 90-day increment that they're on track. I don't need to know all the details. I don't care. I just want to know, is it on track or not?
I know what you're saying, get to the end of the year, something they missed, can't fix it.
So the 90-day goal, I think to take away any consternation for you, Margaret, if I read your face, Margaret, would it be just to simply 90 days, are you on target or off target with what we need for the annual authorizer review?
Right.
And then if you need help, and say, thanks for asking, because we're really, XYZ, I could use help here or there, that's where you could enlist support, but it'd be up to you. I'm not seeing that as Skylar saying, give me X nitty-gritty details.
I don't care, yeah, right. We can, Skylar, as part of the KPIs too, we have three check-ins during the years, so that could be a time too, where we just check in and see if everything's on track. And Margaret can let us know if there's any issues we need to deal with at that point. So, it's fine.
Okay. All right, so now we've got that in there, we've got those built in. What we don't have built in, according to so we had everything in the challenges except for, do we need a goal, a standalone goal with defining classical education and a way to get that out in front of the community? We don't have necessarily anything there. We really don't have anything in here. If you go to marketing, we really don't have anything in here with marketing specific. And that's fine, because that could be operational. It's what you're doing for recruitment. You're doing open houses. You're doing, the Chick-fil-A bouncy house. I don't know, whatever it would be. Whatever it would be to get your name out there. But we did have some good discussion on the fact that we feel that there is a disconnect with what is classical education and what is the understanding of the people in our community and or potential recruits with that. So is that something that gets built into the board plan? Is that something that goes somewhere else?
I don't know that it's a governance issue.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
And again, we have vision, but vision is not definition of classical education. If it is, that's really a boring vision. But thoughts on that? And again, if it's nothing, then we just agree that it's not something, but it's something we're cognizant of.
So the question, is it the board's responsibility to do it, or is it, because it's to me, it's an operational function? Is it something the board wants them to, would think that supports the whole school? Is that the question?
Yeah. I believe that that's really the question.
I believe it is important for the community to know more about what a classical education is and spread that. I think that should be a goal of LCCA to evangelize, so to speak, that comes through development and through other functions. That's not something the board itself carries out. We do in certain ways, but it's not we're not the owner of it. That's my.
Although it's probably something that we don't execute on it, but deciding what in the scope that it should be does kind of stem from everything that we're talking about. And wasn't there that the survey says we still get 70% through word of mouth or something from parents? There was something that was put out, I think February's report or something. It was something that would just imply that if I saw that in a company, I'd probably say, well, why are we spending any marketing dollars? Type of thing.
Because it's so high.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you go into decisions okay, well, you would do that because you want to increase your throughput as defined by whatever it is we're defining as throughput. But if we don't know that we actually care to increase, you got to know what you care to increase first to then decide how do you want to market it. So, what do you want your budget allocation to be? So it seemed like if we figure out the other things, we'll figure out that.
Yeah. So if I heard you correctly, you're basically saying some of that messaging is embedded in what the advancement messaging is going to be, the vision that you develop, the different things like that. And so I'm hearing at this point that there's not necessarily a specific standalone item other than encouraging the operational team to keep doing it, get the message out there, and also to share with the board what is kind of our elevator pitch.
So, pardon me, but.
Yeah, push back. Go.
Isn't the elevator pitch something that we're establishing the work group on to figure out?
Yep, and I'm just saying that they would share that with you. So there's not, what I'm saying is that I'm not hearing right now a standalone item for the board to do with messaging to parents on classical education, other than keep encouraging to get it out there and then share with us anything that you have is good, share with the board anything you have is good so that we understand it to you better so we can communicate it in the same way you're communicating. That's what I'm hearing.
But isn't the working group involving the board?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm not saying. Don't write anything else in there, but you're just affirming that.
Got it.
That probably didn't make a lot of sense.
It does make sense.
Does it make sense now?
To me.
All right, good. Skylar, does that answer your question a little bit there? We're good? Yep. Marty, you okay with that?
Yep.
Nothing to add or anything? Okay.
I don't think so.
All right, so let's go back to the opportunities now, Dan. Make sure that we didn't miss something there. So if you look at the opportunities, fundraising is at address.
Yep.
On campus again.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked about benefits of classical education. So again, between the visioning, the fund development campaign, it's all going to tie together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to John's point too, we're going to get, somebody's going to share the link with John of what the portrait of a graduate too, or wherever that is on the website.
Portrait of a graduate. Love it.
That's my encouragement.
I love it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put anyone on the spot there. But, all right, since you have it already, so just put it out there, which is great. And then you'll have your stories down the road. All right, next. Spreading the message of school, becoming more visible, prospective parents, word of mouth. Just getting the messaging out there. We didn't address that specifically. Again, it's gonna be part of the advancement, it's gonna be more operational. It's not something the board has to get in there with necessarily. Is that the thought? Okay? And then the other numbers begin to get lower and lower. Anything you feel we're missing in the plan? Those highly rated, challenge opportunities. Nice work, team.
Skylar, anything?
No, nice work, team. Are you beginning to see the process here with this? And even just sitting down here today, going through that, naturally what rises to the top are those important things when we have that communication. And this is going to give you a form, it's going to give you a process, it's your GPS. It's your GPS. And the other resources that we go through tomorrow will make sense. So what Dan and I will do, since we've got that in there, we'll clean up the other document, we'll have that ready to go tomorrow. We're going to assign owners to the 90-day goals. We'll have that in place tomorrow. We'll work through some of the other resources. Get you start getting trained on the fuel meeting. When is your next meeting, by the way? Because we've got
Wednesday.
We just yeah, that's pretty quick for that one.
Maybe shoot for the next.
Yeah, we'll probably shoot for the next one. So, but with that in mind, we'll talk tomorrow. Put something on the calendar, get some things in place, and do all the logistics with that tomorrow.
Someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Well, before we do it, just real quick around the room. Key takeaway or thought from today. George, you get to start, so then you pick who goes next. We're going to use popcorn it out, so you get to pick who goes next.
I'd like to pick someone else to go first. Key takeaway, I think you actually said it just a minute ago of having this robust conversation makes the cream rise to the top, and it's all natural, kind of what natural but with purpose, what has risen to the top, and I feel like we're all on pretty much the same page, which is a great first step.
Yeah. All right, pick who goes next.
Lori.
Yeah, I think a lot of items to address were pinpointed and there's some direction. And it was nice to see just a collaborative exchange between everybody, and just with everybody, the new board, it was very beneficial for me personally, because I don't know everybody, and so it was a nice process.
Lori, popcorn it up.
Ooh, Emily.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we have direction. I feel like we know where we're going, and everybody's kind of on the same page with that. So that's exciting.
Awesome.
Ellen.
I also feel like we had some good communication and finally could do that and have some direction. We're a little more focused.
Yeah, it's one of the things we hope for with this is it provides focus, just like a GPS provides
Yep.
focus. All right, you pick who goes next, Tom.
Randy.
I think it was good that we all could take our time and talk through things and make sure we're on the same page. And I think these are all things we knew we were going to do or need to do, but they're going to get done a lot faster than they would otherwise.
Hopefully that's what you will see with this process. Stay with the process. Stay with it. It does work. All right, Randy, whoever's next.
Skylar.
I feel like there's a lot of alignment. I mean, we have some work to do still, but I think there's a lot of alignment around, what we need to accomplish, maybe not how we accomplish it, but I'm really encouraged by the discussion today. So,
Okay. Who's next?
John.
What is it, takeaway?
Yeah, from today.
Takeaway, I think this group is pretty functional.
Bless you.
No, that's no.
We were supposed to be positive.
We've just
John.
never gotten a chance to do it. Oh, it's good because we're figuring out how to operate in a public setting. It drives me crazy half the time. But it's good. We're like a functional group. So if allowed the opportunity to work as such, like we will be effective.
Love it. That's great. So you're 1 and 2 now. So the 2 in the corner.
Yeah, Eric.
I think one of the biggest takeaways for me today is the appreciation for the necessity of intentional facilitation for this type of work. This is very difficult to do without facilitation.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. And, I would echo that from all the groups we serve. And then Eric, you can pick last person. There you go.
I was really pleased with the process of prioritizing, like the voting we went through at the beginning to kind of whittle it down to the things that we all collaboratively agree are of most importance. And then it was interesting to me to see how some of the other things fell under those greater priorities naturally. So we are really accomplishing almost all that it seems we collectively submitted in our pre-work. It really is all, it seems to be falling into the categories that we've identified just by nature of prioritization. And so I was glad for that as the starting point.
Awesome. Yeah, and like I said, we both said coming in, there really were not these real outliers in any of the comments, you know. So kudos to you. You're here for a reason. You have a vision. You haven't stated the vision completely clearly, but you all got a vision that's headed in that same direction. So that's exciting. Dan, closing comment, thought?
Yeah, so we now know how 850 came to the number that's out there. So that was good. And then also, just this really fits closely when you go and have the conversation with the financial folks from CLA. Now you're going to be able to go and correlate. These are the pieces that are the most important right into that financial model to go and plug and play. And then it's going to be a lot of back and forth on, well, how many students do you need? How many teachers? All of that. But that's going to correlate very quickly in line with this. So that'll be, I'm excited to see where that goes for you guys. Because it'll really provide that focus.
Yeah, John, I think you'll enjoy your conversation with CLA when that's connected. So. Excellent. All right. All you, please, Ron.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned at 3:33.